hardly any of these politicians have ever owned a business. They've never run a business. Biden's never run a business. Chuck Schumer's never run a business. McConnell's never run a business. Yeah. Nancy Pelosi's never run a business. Newsom's never run a business.
Welcome back to the Law Leighton Show. We've kept the name. We have a logo, so we are official.
Do we have a logo?
Yeah. My wife just posted one on Instagram this morning. That's how much my father-in-law is up on the Instagram. He's gotten a tutorial over the last couple of days of how to comment on Instagram and what to look for. How do you feel about that so far?
I still don't know how to operate it, but
yeah. So
Bree will take care of that.
Yeah. But today we're going to go over, we've got 5 or 6 topics to go over, and we're going to open up because one is coming up in a couple weeks, and it is the elections, March 5th, and we got the big ones coming in November, and we're going to talk about why it is important for you to vote and to get out there and know what you're voting for. So, Brian, go ahead and start us off.
Yeah, this isn't going to be some esoteric discussion on my part. I wouldn't tell you how to vote, but never vote for a Democrat. I think I just told you how to vote. But anyway, with the primary, you're going to have a choice between various Republicans. You're going to have a choice between Democrats, if that's what you will. California passed this stupid law that allows the top 2 vote getters to run off in November. Especially in California, that a lot of times means 2 Democrats running off in November.
So you're saying that they don't even have to go to the March elections, they just go straight to November?
No, they run it off in March, but if 2 Democrats get the most votes out of everybody, they're running it off in November. There's no Republican we can vote for.
Okay, gotcha.
That means it's important to get out and vote on March 5th. Very important to get out there on March 5th. Pay particular attention to the initiatives and propositions that are on the ballot. Those are important. Now, I'll tell you why they're important. A lot of times those dictate how your life is going to be run. When there is an initiative or a petition on the ballot for election, the Secretary of State and the Attorney General in California, heavy Democrats, Democrat Secretary of State, Democrat Attorney General, leftist, I should say leftist, Secretary of State, they wrote what the initiative says at the top. Most people only read the headline of the initiative. They don't see what it really means until they dig down to the meat and potatoes. So, for example, 5 or 6 years ago, there was an initiative that we finally got on the ballot to not allow the state to raise our gasoline taxes, which the state wants to do all the time, claiming it's going to fix our roads, bridges, et cetera. It never does. They never spend it on that. But we wanted to stop them from raising taxes again. And the legislature passed a gas tax increase. By the way, we have the highest gas taxes in the United States.
So I was at the gym 2 days ago, and they had the average gas price in the United States was $3. In California, it was $4.34.
Right. And so much of it is gas tax. Then you have tire taxes. You have all kinds of stuff, taxes on it. So the way they wrote the initiative on the headline in the first paragraph was, if you voted yes, you were going to destroy roads and it was going to raise taxes. The meat and potatoes of it was the opposite. After it came into effect, and of course, the liberal press pushed the party line, which was vote this way on this proposition, otherwise your roads are going to go to hell and it's going to raise your taxes, gas taxes. It was the opposite. People voted for it that way, and then all of a sudden they realized, no, it's the opposite. Gas taxes went up. They did a poll after that, and like 65% of the people said they would have voted the opposite way had they been told the truth. Okay? So that's one of them. In 2008, California voters passed HighSpeed Rail. They were sold a bill of goods. They were lied to big time. They said it was going to be $9 billion they're going to do with bonds, and it would be completed from San Francisco to LA by 2020. That was 4 years ago. What have they completed? Nothing. They're building between like Madeira and Hanford, but that's it. They've already spent $68 billion.
68.
$68 billion.
And they said, what would it cost?
They said it was going to be $9 billion.
Okay.
And it was going to be done in 2020. They've had 5 different firms run this high-speed rail. Each one, after a few years, they quit because they aren't getting anything done. Mm-hmm. They blame it on the environmentalists stopping it. They blame it on this. They blame it on this and that. Pete Buttigieg, that...
Isn't it a Buttigieg?
Whatever his name is, Buttigieg. Secretary of Department of Transportation that had all of our shipping problems and airline problems and freight problems. He's the one that just announced a few weeks ago that they're going to put another $3.3 billion into California's high-speed rail, and that's what we need to save the environment. Well, that's not going to finish even Hanford. Wow. And they also told the public back in 2008 that it was going to be self-sufficient. It was going to pay for itself because it was going to have so many riders. No more tax dollars would have to go into it. People are not going to have to fund that. It's going to be funded solely by ridership and concessions, et cetera. They also said it was going to go from San Francisco to LA in 3.5 hours, and it's going to be 220 miles an hour. It turns out now they've downgraded it to 140 miles an hour. It's now going to go from Merced to Bakersfield, and we'll have to deal with San Francisco and LA later. These dumb shits that sold us the bill of goods, they said that there was no problem getting to LA from the valley. Now they realize, oh, we got to bore hills through the grapevine. No, it can't be done. So they just lied to you. Politicians will lie to you every time.
So
never trust them.
So what are some props on this ballot that we need to look for especially?
Well, I looked at them. I'm going to have to save that for another session because I have to sit down and look at them and read them all. Because there's local ones like Proposition E to fund Fresno State, et cetera, and there's several other ones. Anything that's put out by the state legislature regarding prisons, vote no. Anything that has to do with criminal reform, vote no.
Why is that?
It's a sham.
Why is that?
Because they don't want prisoners and they want people out. They don't want people to be in jail, in prison, because it's racist, et cetera. Anything that the legislature passes, do not trust it. It's a lie. It's an absolute lie. Don't trust them. You know, I'm 70 some odd years old, and with age has come my cynicism of virtually everything in government, politicians, laws, et cetera. You likewise have to be cynical of everything you read and everything you vote on. Never trust the government.
Is that because there's more corruption nowadays? Or what do you think that is?
Especially with the leftists, yeah, the Democrats. They'll lie to your face and tell you that it's good for you, or they know what's best for you, or they just flat out lie to you. The electric vehicle stuff, green energy. Our world's going to go to hell because we're not. We have too much CO2.
Yeah, but don't you think that's on both parties? Like they sell you a lot of bill of goods that are kind of hogwash, like the war, like in Ukraine and all that, where a lot of
there's a lot of Republicans that are at fault. I'm just saying that Democrats never tell you the truth.
Gotcha.
Republicans, many of them will lie to you. I mean, Lankford in the Senate from Oklahoma, of all places, was telling you this border bill was going to be great. It's horrible. But it would never pass without full Democrat support. So you have to be very careful with how the initiatives and petitions read. You have to be very careful about who you vote for. And conservatives are at we're battling uphill because the legislature is over 2/3 Democrats. They can pass anything they want without one Republican vote. And we have a Democrat governor. We've had a Democrat governor ever since Schwarzenegger. And Schwarzenegger was not a Republican. Like everybody says, well, the Republican governor was in charge when the HighSpeed Rail passed. Well, he is, rhino's overused, but no, he was a liberal in sheep's clothing. He hates Trump. He thinks an open border is fine, etc. But don't trust him. Be very, very careful. Don't follow the Fresno Bee as to who you should vote for, the LA Times, Sacramento Bee, Washington Post, New York Times, any of those. Try to get your news from other sources like Gateway Pundit, PJ Media, Town Hall News, various shows that are on podcasts and stuff. But don't trust the press, and don't trust the politicians.
Is there a good website that you go to look up these props to kind of dig in where they can speak more simple, I guess you would say, where you can kind of get into the meat and potatoes of it?
Well, I don't want to leave any out, but for California specifically, it's Cal Matters.
Okay. Cal Matters?
Cal Matters.
Okay.
Great set of people that run that. They tell you the truth about what things are going to cost, et cetera. So I would say there's probably another one for California, but as Newsom likes to say, so goes California, so goes the nation. And so far, unfortunately, he's correct. He's the one that started off with the gender stuff. He's the one that started off with emptying the prisons. He's the one that started off with all kinds of nonsense. Open borders, what's that done for us? Nothing. It's hurt us. It's harmed us. It's harmed every citizen in the United States as open borders. So don't trust what they're going to say. Biden was harping on the Republicans for stopping the border bill. It's going to be, this is what I need to stop the influx of from the border invasion, et cetera, is we need a new bill. No, just reverse everything. Reverse every executive order you did that reversed Trump's orders. We had a secure border. The border is killing us. Not only how much taxpayer dollars is going to these people, because like California and a number of other states, they're getting free housing, they're getting Medicare, free health, free education, food stamps, spending money. They're occupying our schools, our hospitals. A couple people in my family recently took their kids to Valley Children's Hospital. They couldn't get in because it's overwhelmed with people that are not kids. And the hospital in California, you can't turn anybody away. You can't turn them away because they can't afford it. You can't turn them away because they're not supposed to be at the Valley Children's Hospital and they're adults. It's overwhelmed. You add that to what they did in COVID, firing nurses and doctors that would not get the vaccine, refusing to hire them if they would not get the vaccine. So what do we have now? A huge shortage of doctors, nurses, all the healthcare practitioners who refused to get the vaccine, which was a lie. The whole thing was a lie about the vaccine, the safety of it, et cetera.
I think that's a big thing with especially smaller, like your hometown, like elections, because during COVID, you realize the more conservative towns and mayors and governors, they let you be you.
Yes.
And even in the small town like where we're at here in California, in Clovis, it's a very conservative town. And during COVID, we're still COVIDing, but we were able to still work and make money. Whereas if we were in other cities in the same state, we wouldn't be able to do that. And that was because of people here voted for those smaller people, and that it doesn't seem important at the time. That's probably the number one thing I hear, as probably you do. It doesn't really matter my vote. It doesn't really care. I'm in California. It doesn't matter.
It does.
And so you just made a good point of all this voting, especially on the 5th of March and November, to vote for the smaller guys, not only the big ones, but the more of the ones in our hometown.
School boards, your city council, county board of supervisors. In the county, you get to vote for the DA, you get to vote for the sheriff. Pay attention to those because they're the ones. Clovis PD told us when we went down and talked to him in 2020 when Newsom shut everything down. He says, we're not going to do anything about businesses staying open until we get a complaint from somebody, and then we'll have to go out and pretend like we're doing something. So Clovis, even though it was kind of semi-shut down, they allowed businesses to stay open. But what would happen is the state would threaten people that if you do not adhere with the COVID mandates, we'll take away your license, whether it be a liquor license, your cosmetology license, your contractor's license, any of that stuff. They take it away. Remember, hardly any of these politicians have ever owned a business. They've never run a business. They're up there voting on what would be good for you. Now, some of the people have been in business. They're usually the best politicians. Biden's never run a business. Chuck Schumer's never run a business. McConnell's never run a business. Yeah, Nancy Pelosi's never run a business. Newsom's never run a business.
Except for that lady who wanted $50 an hour minimum wage, and she ran businesses. Did you hear about that?
Which one is that? AOC?
No, it was like a week ago, and she was in front of the Senate.
Oh, she wanted to raise the minimum wage to $50 an hour.
Yeah, and she was
okay.
Business.
Well, there goes virtually every business.
Yeah,
because nobody can afford it. And if the businesses stay in business, can taxpayers handle more price hikes? No, they can't. Yeah. No, I mean, groceries have gone up 22% under Biden. Gas has gone up 33%. It's worse in California. Energy prices have gone up 50%. Mortgages have gone up 50%. So watch who you vote for and what you vote for.
So another kind of thing, especially who you vote for, because we're told by fake news or whoever, if Trump gets elected, our democracy is gone, right? He's trying to take our democracy. He's trying to take all of our freedoms. He's, all these things that we're told that if Trump's elected, like the world's going to end, which is kind of like when Hillary ran. I feel like a lot of conservatives thought the world was going to end if she got elected. She didn't. But Trump was elected, and now they're playing that same thing. You're hearing it on CNN and those same places. Like, what's the truth behind that, or is there not any truth behind that?
Absolutely no truth behind it, because I just want to ask people, Trump was president for 4 years. What did he do that impacted you badly during those 4 years? What did he do that raised your prices, caused you not to be able to go to the schools, buy groceries, buy gas, do what you wanted to do, live your life, etc.? Nothing. He made your life better. Whether it be your 401k, gas prices, food prices. We didn't have shipping problems. We didn't have any of those kind of problems that we've had over the last 3 years. Everything has skyrocketed under Biden, and nothing he has done. I mean, everything he has done is turned to shit. Mm-hmm. It's cost people more. He is trampling on your rights. He is the one that's telling you what you can and can't do. They're the ones that say that mega Republicans are the biggest threat to democracy. No, they're the biggest threat to Democrats. That's the issue. They're the biggest threat to Democrats. When Trump takes office, hopefully he takes office, and there's going to be all kinds of cheating, both federal bureaucrats cheating to keep him out of office, as they've already been trying to do. He will make your life better. He will leave you alone, decrease your prices, increase your 401ks, get the mortgage rates lower, get us out of these stupid wars, not spend money overseas, stop China. China and foreign companies can buy land and own companies in the United States. We can't, American companies cannot own land. They can't own businesses in China. Let that sink in. You cannot go to China and buy land. You certainly can't go there and buy agricultural land, but they're doing it here. China's buying land. We got Bill Gates, the globalist that he is, buying agricultural land. China's buying agricultural land by military bases, and the states are letting them do it. They're buying companies here. A Chinese company, and remember, every Chinese company is here with the express permission of the Chinese Communist Party, but the Chinese Communist Party wants something in return. Trade secrets, ripping us off, etc. A Chinese company owns the biggest pork producer, packing house in the United States now.
Pork, you said?
Pork, yeah.
Okay.
The Chinese own the biggest pork packing house. There's only 3 pork packing houses in the United States. They own one of them. How does that help us? How does that help American workers? How does illegal immigration help American workers? So one of the things that only the Democrats want mail-in ballots. Mm-hmm. Only the Democrats want to lift restrictions on ballots. But if you want voter ID, you are destroying people's rights to vote. No. Only U.S. citizens have a right to vote. They're the only ones that are doing that. So that's what you have to watch. Now, the United States is a constitutional republic. It's not a democracy. A democracy is you get 50% of the vote plus 1. You can do whatever you want to other people. That's not right. We have a constitutional republic. I think it was Ben Franklin that said, a democracy is 2 wolves and a sheep. 2 wolves and a sheep deciding on what to have for dinner. A constitutional republic is a well-armed sheep contesting the election. Okay? That's why we have a constitution. So when the majority overreaches the Constitution, provided you have valid courts, with people that want fairness, not their own political will.
Can you give me like a simple example of that? Like that's happened in the past or that might be happening now?
Well, for example, I think it was 1987 or 1988, California voters, by initiative, voted to outlaw same-sex marriage. Court struck it down as being unconstitutional. Whether it was unconstitutional or not, at least the Constitution worked for the liberals then.
Gotcha.
Okay. The bailout of the student loans. That was by edict by Biden. U.S. Supreme Court struck it down, saying you can't do that. They would have stricken the universal health insurance, the Obama bill for health insurance, except for Roberts changed his vote and we lost 5-4. They're pushing for basically socialist medicine in California and in various other states. You have various regulations in California and other liberal states that are eventually getting struck down by the higher courts, not by the local courts, not by the intermediate courts, but by the U.S. Supreme Court and some of the courts of appeals in those states. And you're going to see more of them because the left legislators, they try to out-left each other. So they pass more and more regulations. They're not doing it for the environment. They're not doing it to help you eat healthy. They don't do anything to benefit you. They do it for power and control. And they do it to create money to provide to their donors so you can get reelected again.
So why is it a big deal that we're a democracy when in reality it's more of a constitutional?
Well, it's always been
republic.
a constitutional republic.
Yeah.
The problem is the left and the people who don't understand it would say we're in a democracy. Now, a democracy, one person, one vote. All you need is 50% plus one. That's how you elect officials. But as far as laws go, the laws have to comply with the Constitution, federal and state constitutions. So there's been a lot of elections that somebody has won by 2 votes or 1 vote or something like that. That's a, quote, democracy. But is it really a democracy if there's been ballot harvesting, if there's been cheating, if there's been illegals voting, if there are people that are non-residents voting? Is it legal if they are voting in more than one location?
That or they're dead.
What?
That or they're dead.
Yeah. Or people voting for them. That's why there's a big push, and that's what Trump is pushing, is that we need same-day voting. Voter ID, same-day voting. None of these machines that can get manipulated, no matter what Dominion says, they could be manipulated. You need same-day voting. It used to be people went there on election day, except for the infirm or the people who are going to be out of state or whatever, and people voted that day, and that night you had results. It's been like France had 30 million people that voted, and they announced the results that night. Voter ID. Argentina, voter ID. Mexico, voter ID. Most countries have voter ID. The countries that don't have voter ID are the ones where one side wants to make sure they always stay in power.
Yeah. Now, this has been really good because, like me, I didn't really know that we were a constitutional republic. I mean, I knew we had a constitution, right? But we're just told that we're a democracy and life's good. But it's really important to have that constitutional framework and to have all that, because it, like you're right, it gives us a framework to live by and for rules and how things should be.
Well, it should be, and here's the other thing, is that there's 3 branches of government: legislative branch, which is Congress, Senate, and the House; executive branch, which is the president and all of his little agencies, which are never created by the Constitution, by the way; and the judicial branch, which is the judges. Executive branch is in charge of enforcement and all of that stuff. Well, the legislature, long ago, they started delegating all of their authority to all these little minion agencies. Little-brained, Napoleon-type people, empty suits and blouses, that sit around and decide how they want to regulate you. And so we have many of those regulations. Hopefully the Supreme Court this term strikes down a number of them, like the rules under the Environmental Protection Agency, which have gone so off the rails. Clean water, clean air, all that kind of stuff. We need to strike those down, because otherwise they're just going to keep coming, and they will keep coming as long as we have leftists that are passing laws, and as long as we have leftists in the administrative state. That's why it's so important to have a president that appoints executives to those positions that's going to rein this in. Yep. When Trump was president, he cut 3 regulations for every one that was imposed. Under Biden, they don't cut any of them. The good ones that Trump got in place, he's by executive order, he's killed those, and they keep regulating us more.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, it is very important to vote. I was never a big voter in my young age, and now I see it, especially after COVID. Both my wife and I were deemed non-essential, and just saw even more of the power in voting, and especially even in the small ones that you don't think matter. So get out and vote for the props, because it is very, very important, and to get to know them. Do some research. You can also Look us up on Instagram, Leighton. Instagram. If you have any questions, you could drop some DMs in there. You can leave a comment. If you have something for Brian, me, I have no idea, so don't ask me. Ask Brian. And
what's a DM?
Direct message. So my wife will be checking those, and then Brian will be telling my wife what's right. So that's probably how this is going to work, I'm guessing.
Okay.
And so, yeah. So if you got any comments like that, please let us know. If you're following us on YouTube, thank you. Comment on below about Brian's t-shirt today. It looks pretty sweet.
Not a t-shirt.
Oh, it's a button up. And give us a like. And if you are on a podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, give us a 5-star like. We greatly appreciate it. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you all.